What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today, we have to head on over to New Venezuela, formerly known as New York City. Why are we headed over there? Because recently, just as what we've seen happening all across the country, in New Venezuela, anti-ICE rioters took over the city as well. But there's something very specific that I want to point out and highlight concerning the riot that happened in New York City. Let's pull this up on the screen for you guys right now, because to me, this is extremely serious, what I want to highlight right now, right? Look at this right here. In New York City, protesters call for global Hamas terrorism as they chant globalize the Antifada, right? Antifada, the technical definition, stands for uprising, and I forget what the other term is, but essentially uprising and rising up, right? But in reality, we all know that Antifada is essentially a call for terrorism. That's what it is. And what I find very alarming about this is that what we're seeing here is the merger between the pro-Hamas protesters, right? The pro-Hamas sympathizers and the anti-ICE rioters. As you can see in this video here, I'm going to play it shortly for you. What we're going to see right now are these lunatics. They're going to chant globalize the Antifada. But look at this woman here. Focus on this woman. She's wearing the Palestinian, head wrap, right, in solidarity with Hamas, but she's also wearing a Mexican soccer jersey as well. Don't let this go over your head. And once again, this is something that we should be paying close attention to, the merger between both of these kind of lunatic groups and lunatic, you can say, activists, for lack of better words at the moment, right? So let's check this video out here, and then we'll get back into unpacking some more of what's happening in New York as well as across the country.
Mexico to Gaza. Globalize the Antifada. To Mexico. All these laws have got to go. Palestine to Mexico.
So you hear what she's saying, from Palestine to Mexico, all these people have to go, something like that. Globalize the Antifada, globalize the Antifada, right? From Gaza to Mexico, such and such have to go. We're watching the merger of these two insane groups come together and essentially become larger, and I believe essentially could also potentially become a bigger threat in this country. And I'm going to elaborate some more on why I feel that way in just a moment. But I want to take a moment right now to let's just take a look at how the Antifada went in New York when it was occurring. Let's take a look at this video here. Let's see how the Antifada was working out against the NYPD. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Antifada. the Antifada in New York that was taking place. Let's get into another clip of how the Antifada was going in New York City prior to night falling, where things obviously got even more out of control. Let me pull this video clip for you guys right now, and let's dive into this one next.
Transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Watch your back! Watch your back! Get back! Off to the side, to the side, to the side. You're in the street, you're blocking traffic. In the street! Get on the street. Transport vehicle.
Once again, this is the Antifada taking place in the United States. And now let's take a look at how things went once night fell in NYC. And then I'm going to elaborate a little bit more, on why I believe this is a bigger threat than most might think it is, right? But let's check this one video clip out next. And then we're going to get into a little bit of what Tulsi Gabbard had to say concerning terrorists coming into the country under Biden's migrant crisis, right? So let's get into this clip first next, and then we're going to get into Tulsi Gabbard's statements afterwards. So now let's transition. I want to go to what Tulsi Gabbard had to say, right? Because before we even jump too deep into what she's saying, my concern with the information that Tulsi is getting ready to discuss is that due to Biden's migrant crisis, and with that, we had so many terrorists sneak into the country, those who are on a terrorist watch list, many of whom we don't even know where they are because we only know of so many who were caught, is that we could possibly be looking at a situation where those who are running around here talking about globalizing the Antifada could actually be radicalized, right? They could be radicalized, and we just don't know it yet. And it's just a matter of timing when these people choose to strike to make a big statement, right? So before I elaborate on that a little bit more, what I want to do first is play these clips from Tulsi Gabbard next. So let's get into this one first from Fox News. Let's jump into this clip next.
Biden once said that white supremacy was the single greatest terrorist threat to our homeland. What do you feel is the greatest threat to the American people's safety?
We look at the last 4 years of open borders, where we had tens of millions of people come across our borders, many of whom we don't know who they are or what their intentions are. And very specifically, the threat of radical Islamist terrorism here within our country is higher than it's ever been before, not only because of President Biden's open borders, but because of his and his administration's fear of being called Islamophobes. They took their attention and our resources away from that threat and once again pointed it at our fellow Americans.
Now let's get into this clip here where she discussed those known terrorists that have crossed the border already, at least that we are aware of, right? Look at this here. I played this clip once before, but I want to play it again. It's very relevant. Tulsi Gabbard says her office identified 700 people with ties to foreign terrorist gangs like MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. We all know about that. But here's my real concern here. And almost 600 individuals with ties to other terrorists who were let into the country under Biden. Let's listen to this here. We're not going to listen to the whole thing. It's about a minute and 16 seconds long, but I really just want to fast forward to her getting to the point concerning, the 600 and 700 terrorists that were let in under Biden. So let's jump into this next.
security and the FBI to be able to find those who are already here in our country. Just the other day, we found 700 alien terrorists who have ties to MS-13, Tren de Aragua, and the Sinaloa cartel. Just yesterday, our NCTC identified almost 600 individuals with ties to other terrorists who came through our borders illegally, claimed asylum, and under the Biden administration were paroled here within our borders.
Understand, these are just those that we know of, right? These are just those that we know of that are in the country. And when you're taking in the fact that these pro-Hamas protests, they're not calming down, they're actually amping up alongside with the anti-ICE rioters. And we're seeing the collaboration between the two now. If you go back to, really, you saw it in Chicago, and we saw it in San Francisco, right? And then compare that to Los Angeles, where the pro-Hamas protest is really kind of it's not existent here. That stuff doesn't really happen over here. But take Los Angeles, for example. The anti-ICE riots broke out, and you started seeing F-ICE spray painted all over the place. F-ICE, 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 F-Trump. Got you. By the time we shift to Chicago and New York and San Francisco, you're not just seeing F-ICE being tagged everywhere. On building and on police cars, you're seeing Free Palestine, F-ICE, Free Palestine, F-ICE, right? As people are creating havoc and destruction across these blue cities and blue states all over the place. And once again, when you take into account that, as excluding MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, we understand that they're designated terrorists, excluding that 700. When you take into account what Tulsi Gabbard just stated concerning these 600 terrorists that came into the country that we know of, the key word is that we know of, right? Lord knows how many more have come in. And the 600 that were identified doesn't necessarily mean they were caught. We just know of them and that they're here somewhere. So you have to really consider things getting out of hand in the near future as it pertains to these so-called protesters becoming more radicalized and organized in a domestic terroristic fashion. And I think that, many of you, and I'm not trying to fearmonger, but I'm really serious here when I say this, over the weekend, right? We all know that tomorrow is going to be the military parade. That military parade also falls on Donald Trump's birthday. So simultaneously, it is Donald Trump's birthday, President Trump's birthday, and the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, right? The U.S. Army turns 250 years old. If there was ever a time to make a statement, not simply just in DC, but across the country, because we know the protests against the military parade will be happening nationwide. If there was ever a time to make a statement, it would be tomorrow. It would be June 14th. So I think that people should be aware of their surroundings tomorrow and have their head on a swivel. If you plan to participate and be at the parade in DC, and if you're just out and about, particularly in major, cities, in blue cities specifically. Because at this point in time, we really don't know what's going on concerning those who have come into the country under Biden. We don't know to the degree to which these so-called pro-Hamas protesters have been radicalized. And we can only imagine how worse things can get now that they are collaborating with the anti-ICE rioters, right? So in closing, what I want to do here, that I want to pull up another video here of what was going on in NYC, just to show you, man, like this stuff was really out of control. And it's something that we should not be taking lightly at all whatsoever, right? In the beginning, it was one thing to kind of sit and go over these videos and, go over these so-called protests and the riots that are going on and go, wow, this is crazy. Look at what's happening here. But the more I go through these videos and the more you're starting to see a trend of these kind of radical groups combining, growing, you take into, consideration what we heard from Tulsi Gabbard. things are really a lot more serious than what people are leading on, in my opinion, right? Look at this here. Look at this intifada that was happening in New York City a few nights ago. Let's see how this carried on.
This is what you get paid to do?
You see the little Palestinian guard, they all love wearing that. They all love wearing it. Let me fast forward just a little bit. You know, we see people getting arrested and taken away. Look at this madness right here. Look at this. Look at this. These people are completely out of control. They don't stand for anything other than destruction. They're not actual protesters, right? They just want madness and violence, as far as I'm concerned. Let's keep going a little bit before I round this out. I wanted to show you one. Look, you see, they all love wearing that, you know, little kind of Palestinian head wrap. Look at this.
Nah, this is crazy, bro. Yeah.
Fuck the police!
Yeah, fuck you, bitch. Fuck you.
Look at how they're all wearing this stuff. And once again, you have to consider the idea of radicalization, because I mean, look, they're wearing these head wraps on, you know, in solidarity with Hamas, but they're not Palestinian. They're not Middle Eastern. As far as I can see, looking at these two that are being held up right now, they're both white. Okay. Why would anyone who's not Palestinian or Middle Eastern, or who isn't Muslim, you know, any white, black, or even Hispanic individual be wearing something like that, right? To me, that's a red flag. It's a huge red flag. And I'll just leave it at that. So with all that being said, that does it for today's news. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And also do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. Link to my Telegram in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. Until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.